Welcome back to Fox Eyes on the Hill. As we've been telling you, Republicans now have a clean sweep on Capitol Hill. Democrats are continuing to examine and trying to figure out what went wrong, and President-elect Donald Trump is moving quickly to form his administration. Let's bring our political panel this morning. Patrick Mara is the Republican Party chair in Washington, D.C., and Drew Littman is a Democratic strategist and former senior counselor under President Obama for Health and Human Services. With Republicans in control of the House and Senate, what should we expect? That's the question. And Drew, let me start with you. You've had over a week now to kind of digest, ruminate, maybe cry yourself to sleep. I don't know how you've processed all of this, but what was your takeaway? Because we haven't really had a chance to sit with you since election night.
My takeaway was that Trump won probably on the economy and had no coattails. The House, based on the numbers we see this morning, the House numbers will be exactly the same as they were this past year. 221 Republicans. So no change. They won 3 red state Democratic seats, the only 3 there are in the Senate.
All right, but Patrick, they did take, they maintain control of the House, and they did take the Senate. Does Donald Trump necessarily care about how big his coattails are, if he can just kind of point to both houses and say that they're in Republican hands?
Well, look, I think these were pretty huge coattails. I think it was, as President Obama said, it was a shellacking when he said that back in the day. And look, he won on the economy, he won on jobs, inflation, he won on the border, especially in some of these swing states. That's an issue. But all of those issues the Democrats overlooked. And look, Vice President Harris was primarily focused on joy and the facts that she is not President Biden and not President Trump, whereas President Trump was talking about issues and policy.
All right. Obviously, the past couple of days have been surrounding conversation about these nominees. Now, as we said previously, some of them, like Governor Doug Burnham, Marco Rubio, got bipartisan support. Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard, and now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have seemed to have turned this town upside down as far as how this is going to proceed. You used to work in this area. How big of a deal is this?
It's a huge, big deal. I've worked on confirmations. I've helped incoming cabinet secretaries prepare for their nomination hearings. I think, though, that Donald Trump doesn't care whether they all get confirmed. I think he wants to command attention. He wants all eyeballs on him. He wants controversy. This is playing out like a reality TV, and I think he just likes to stir things up. I don't think he's going to care much if he has to pull 1 or 2 nominees.
Patrick, it's been said that some of these nominees might be a stress test or a loyalty test for Republicans. If that is the case, does that even need to be made? It seems like the Republicans were all lock, stop, and step and barrel behind Donald Trump.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you look at a number of these nominees, there's 2 words that one of your previous panelists mentioned, and that's loyal disruptors. And that's especially the folks you mentioned. That's what a lot of who these people are. They've been very loyal to Donald Trump. They are disruptors. President Trump, puts together these coalitions of very unorthodox Republican coalitions of people. He speaks at rallies and talks about issues that really go to the heart of many Americans, the majority of many Americans, as it turns out. And look, in this case, all these people will be considered by the United States Senate. They will do a full review of the nominees, and they'll be confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
Some of these departments are massive, though, and I'm thinking about the Pentagon right now. Pete Hegseth has been, a U.S. military veteran. We honor that service, but he's never run anything. Few human beings have the size of the United States Department of Defense. This seems like this is far beyond bicycle wheels at this point. Are we overreaching here on versus, kind of the shock and awe element of this and whether or not the person is able to actually do the job?
This is potentially catastrophic for the Pentagon. I worked for a cabinet secretary, Department of Health and Human Services, spends about $1 trillion a year. Pentagon is close, about $850 billion a year. That job is first and foremost a management job. It's extremely complex. You're dealing with all kinds of interests, policy, foreign countries, weapons procurement. He has no experience in any of these areas.
You look at the first Trump administration, you had Rex Tillerson at State, you had, legendary General Mattis at the Defense Department. What is your takeaway, Patrick, from what is clearly a different lineup that Trump is putting in the game here for the second half of his term here?
Look, I mean, again, all these people need to be confirmed by the United States Senate. But with that, I would say, I mean, look, Marco Rubio is the nominee for Secretary of State. I think a lot of people are extremely excited about that. You hear zero, controversy along those lines. He was someone who was not always loyal to President Trump, so that also makes him a little more interesting. But obviously, he's a current sitting U.S. senator.
Well, Trump also had some things to say about him in the past. Remember the little Marco remark during the 2016 debates. One of the things that is of concern to the local economy right now are these plans for the Department of Government Efficiency. Not that probably people could agree that government needs to be efficient, but this idea of moving large amounts of jobs out of this area. How do you think that this is going to be received both on the Hill and here locally?
I think Trump is going to try and move jobs far out of Washington as a way to force people to quit. He did that on a smaller scale in his first presidency. I don't think it's going to be well received. I don't know that Congress is going to be able to push back effectively.
Patrick, you think this is going to be a problem for the economy here?
I think we will weather the storm here in the region. But at the end of the day, Republicans have been talking about making the government, the federal government in particular, a little bit slimmer, and I think that's what they'll do.
Patrick Mara, Drew Littman, thank you so much for joining us on our political panel this morning.